So, good afternoon, and welcome to our last session of our Spring Lunch and Learn series. These engaging sessions are proudly presented by Community Futures Entrecorp, which is dedicated to serving Medicine Hat area, and Community Futures Chinook, serving the Tabor, Brooks, and Warner regions. For those of you who may not know who I am, my name is Grace Evans, and I'm the Digital Service Squad team member for Community Futures Chinook and Entrecorp. So as a Digital Service Squad team member, I provide small businesses with free support for online marketing, website development, social media, and so much more. Thank you all for joining me today for our Lunch and Learn session on graphic design. This session is very information heavy, so I encourage you, if there's anything you need clarity on, please leave any comments, any concerns, anything you need clarity on, please leave it in the chat. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the Q&A section. This session will be recorded and available on YouTube after the event, so please feel free to ask questions in the Q&A section and find reference resources in the chat as well as I'm presenting. And to begin, we're going to start from the beginning. So what is graphic design? Where do we use it? Where do we see it? So small businesses use graphic design in various different ways to enhance their branding, marketing, and communication efforts. So here are some of the common ways that small businesses utilize graphic design each and every day. Of course, your logo design, branding materials, marketing collateral, website design, social media graphics, email marketing, product packaging, signage and displays, and these are just to name a few. So each and every day as a small business owner, we're using graphic design, whether that's making social media ads or throwing our logo onto something or creating different packaging for product. As small business owners, we encounter graphic design as a tool or challenge or activity that we're doing quite often as small business owners. So overall, graphic design is very crucial in helping small businesses establish and maintain a strong brand presence, attract customers, and drive business growth. So by investing in quality graphic design or investing your time and learning more about graphic design as a small business, you can effectively communicate your message better. You can differentiate yourself from your competitor and build lasting relationships with your audience. So before we start, I want you guys to think about your favorite brands or maybe the most memorable brands that we're encountering all the time. So the ones that come to my mind are Apple, Coca-Cola, McDonald's. Of course, some of the things that we're encountering each and every day with them is their amazing graphic design or their amazing branding and how well established these brands have created themselves and positioned themselves in the market. So some of the things with those brands that you're thinking of, instantly you think of their logo, the apple, the big M, right? So throughout this exercise, I don't have a lot of examples in my presentation, but I encourage you right now, before I dive into a bunch of different techniques and things like that, think of your favorite brands. Think of the brands or even the local businesses that have really good branding and graphic design that you kind of aspire to have, and keep that at the front of your mind while I'm talking about these different design techniques. And I promise you, you'll start to notice some of the things I mentioned are just exercises and techniques that they're using to attract customers. So of course, like one of the best ways of diving into graphic design and starting to maybe enhance your own graphic design, in my personal opinion, is starting to identify some of the common mistakes or common things that maybe you're doing or another business is doing that you notice that's detracting from their graphic design and the overall looks of their website or their advertising or like I said, in all those different places that we're seeing graphic design, the common mistakes I see every day working with clients are the ones that are listed here. So it's one thing to keep in mind, and it's okay if you're doing these things. The idea of this presentation is to kind of take these mistakes and learn why you shouldn't do that and then correct them. So of course, too many fonts. Using a script font, a big chunky font, and then a really thin font like the one I have on the screen here. If you're using too much variety in font, it's going to detract from the message you're trying to send. So of course, our words, our typography, it's super important when it comes to graphic design because it's our words that portray the message. Our headlines, our typography. Our message, our copyright, it's in type, right? So we're wanting to use fonts that complement our brand and complement our message, but also stay consistent across all our mediums with the same font if we can, and using like a variation of one or two contrasting fonts that are going to complement each other, and not using different fonts on like 3 or 4 different fonts on one ad, or using a different font on every ad you do. It is really important to kind of pick 1, 2, 3 max that you're going to choose and use consistently across every advertisement you do, every channel you use. Pick one and roll with it. Next is using stock images. So this one is kind of hit and miss with me because I do know as a professional working in the marketing industry that there is times when using stock images is the only option, especially being a professional like a psychologist or a doctor, or in spaces where getting original imagery can be super difficult. Stock images are typically the go-to for those businesses when it comes to marketing. I totally understand that. However, this is a common mistake because I encourage each and every business that if you have the opportunity, take your own photos. Your own original high quality images are going to translate so much better to your customers than stock images, because a lot of businesses, we're all pulling from the same pool of stock images. So we're repeatedly seeing the same hand and coffee cup combination when it comes to advertisements, and this is where things kind of get muddy for clients. Next is not proofreading your graphic designs or your advertisements. This is an easy way to make yourself look not professional. Having spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes, little punctuation mistakes, these can change your message significantly. So just keeping an eye out that everything is proper, it does make a difference. Even here on my presentation, I see that I spelled colors the American way, probably because that's what my spell check wanted on Canva. It's an American company. But if you're a Canadian business, you should be spelling things the Canadian way. So keeping that in mind. And then next is using incorrect hierarchy. So this is going to be something probably none of you understand at this point, but I want you to take that word hierarchy, put it in your bank, and we're going to visit that in a couple slides. So keep that in your bank of terminology that you're probably going to take away from this presentation. And like I said, we'll revisit that in a couple slides. Next is lack of white space. So in term, obviously white space is the blank space that you kind of leave as breathing room in a design. And too often I see this being the biggest mistake with small businesses trying to cram too much information into one design. Simple is better. And if you're not leaving any white space, you're cluttering your design and you're not letting your room for your message to breathe, or room for your customer to take in what is important about your design. So that kind of leads into the next one as well, using words instead of visuals, cluttering with words instead of visuals. When it comes to graphic design, when it comes to using channels like social media, visual is so important. So thinking about how people are seeing things versus having them read long paragraphs. So simple is better, and that's the last one as well. Don't over design. Don't keep things simple. Don't put too many elements that are going to distract from the message of what your advertisement is or what your design is trying to portray. If you over design, you risk the chance of people not being able to understand the message you're trying to portray. So by being aware of these common mistakes and actively working to avoid them, graphic designers or small business owners, soon to be graphic designers, can create more effective, visual appealing, and professional designs. So on the flip side, here are some graphic design musts. And I will say they pretty much are just the opposite of what I just said. So some of the musts are focus on readability, use high quality images, white space is your friend, use the visual hierarchy, we're getting to that, and use your creativity. So keep these things at the forefront of your mind before you dive into whatever it might be, whether that's website design, creating a new logo for your business. For most of you, when you're thinking of graphic design, it's probably for either A, print materials like brochures, postcards, advertisements for the newspaper, or B, social media. So when I'm talking about things, those two are print media and social media are probably more what I'm going to be talking about in terms of graphic design rather than logo design and things like that, because social media and ad design are going to be what you're you're doing each and every day. So it's the repetitive graphic design that you're going to be doing probably on a daily basis in your business. So there's always a starting point, and when it comes to your graphic design journey, having a strong brand or having branding in general is going to be your starting point. I come across so many businesses each and every day where there's no branding. There's no logo, there's no set color, there's no set type. It's just a business. So before you even think about starting on this journey of graphic design and creating advertisements for social media, you need to have a brand. So every business begins its graphic design journey with a solid foundation in branding. Our brand serves as the cornerstone to everything we're going to do with graphic design. For all your marketing materials, laying the foundation for effective communication with your audience. So when formulating a brand or a brand identity, it's crucial to consider several key factors to ensure that the effectiveness of your brand. So first, clear identity. That's going to be that your brand is easily identified as you. So like I had mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, thinking of those brands that just instantly pop to your mind as once you see that red, you know it's Coca-Cola. Once you see that nice, sleek white packaging, Apple, right? It's that clear identity. You can tell by the elements in their design that that is that brand. So you automatically have a relationship with what they've done with their design. What they've done when creating a brand is it has emotion. It has an identity that is so well established that we instantly know what brand it is by seeing just the smallest things. Like I said, seeing the logo, seeing the color, seeing the font. Coca-Cola is an excellent example of that, and that's why I keep repeating it, because once you see that big red screen and that cursive font, Coca-Cola, we instantly go there. And then that leads into the second one as well, consistency. They're consistent across each and every brand. Even this branding I showed up for us at Community Futures. Consistency is huge in all the marketing materials we're putting out, right? We use our green and black, and we try and incorporate that in each and every social media post we do, in our videos. Each and every asset we're creating, we're using the green, we're using the leaf, we're using imagery that really reflects consistently what we are as a brand. And of course, you can add and bring in different accents along the way, but staying consistent to how you look across every ad and your website is going to help with that relationship you have with your customer. Authenticity. So every brand kind of has a story. So making sure that your logo and your brand really reflects the authenticity of what you're trying to do with your business. Like the leaf in our logo is supposed to represent a form of growth, community growth, business growth, growing together as a community. So using symbolism that really keeps you authentic to what you're trying to offer. Next is relevance. So staying attuned to the evolving needs and preferences and different trends within this world we live in. So having a logo and a brand that can adapt and change to the different seasons, different causes and things that maybe your brand and brand identity aligns with. So staying relevant and staying attuned, even though you might have, say, the same logo going through the years, adjusting and changing things to keep yourself relevant and modern. Adaptability. So a good example of adaptability when it comes to branding is having different variations of your logo. So having a color, having a black logo, having a white logo, having an icon, having a shorter logo. These different variations of your logo are going to make your brand more adaptable in different areas. Having a white logo on something darker, all these different things are a way of making your brand more flexible and adaptable, and it's essential when it comes to the look and feel of your brand. Lastly is the longevity of your brand. So you're building something that's going to span the life of your business. So, and it's okay to adjust and change things along the way when it comes to your brand, but really staying rooted in what you believe in and having a brand that reflects that. And in turn, it's investing in cultivating and enduring relationships with your audience and really nurturing your brand loyalty and evolving while still staying true to what your core values are. So, branding is so much more than just a logo and some colors. And so I could have a whole presentation on branding itself. So I'm not going to stay on that too much longer, but it is the foundation of everything you're going to do when it comes to graphic design. So having a brand kit, having solid branding, a logo. I don't know how many businesses I come across that don't even have a logo. And that's fine, but really graphic design, advertising, marketing, everything is rooted in the foundation of having a strong branding or having a strong brand identity, which is so much more than a logo and some colors. So I encourage you, if you don't have a brand or you haven't thought about branding, sit down and really outline your brand and what you want, how you want customers to see you, because that's really rooted in branding. So now I'm moving into the visual hierarchy. So as I mentioned, I told you to take that term and hold on to it. We are now there. And so these are basically some tips or some key terms to keep in your mind when designing. I'd love to show these hands-on, but obviously I don't have a crazy amount of time to show all these. So I'm just going to go through these terms. And of course, if you have any questions about what they mean or how to utilize these different techniques, please drop a comment, reach out to me personally. I'd love to go into these things more depth in a one-on-one meeting if you need. So first, let's dive into the concept of visual hierarchy. So it's a valuable tool for enhancing your graphic design skills. So a visual hierarchy refers to the strategic arrangement of elements within a design to direct viewers' gaze and convey a relative importance of each element by creating a structure. So instead of just creating a design and throwing a bunch of stuff in there, like you're having a barbecue and it's on the 8th of July at 3 o'clock, and you need to bring your own lawn chair, and you have all these ideas that you want to put into an ad, and you're like, you just need to get it out there, so you throw it onto an ad. The idea of a visual hierarchy is using these different techniques to pick what the most important information is, highlight that while still including those other elements. So in a way, in the gist of it, it's a way of organizing a design to high priority or of what you want your customer to see. So the first one here we have is contrast. So contrast in the design world is highlighting different elements like color, size, or texture. High contrast elements make things stand out. So emphasizing their importance, such as bright colors against dark backgrounds or bold text on lighter backgrounds. So an example that you can actually see on my PowerPoint right now is the visual hierarchy headline is what is highlighted, and it's a big, thick, bold text. So in contrast, the not as important information or what I'm not wanting my customer to focus on is a thinner, lighter, smaller text. So big versus small text, bold versus thin text, dark versus light, so using white text on a black background. Those are all examples of contrast. So next is proximity. So what proximity is saying is we're wanting to organize the design and put elements in your design that relate to each other closest together, and use proximity as a way for people to relate one element to another. So my backyard barbecue on July 8th, I think I said at 3 o'clock, bring your own lawn chair. The most important information there is backyard barbecue, July 8th at 3 o'clock. So maybe I'm going to put that information together, but maybe in contrast, make backyard barbecue bigger and make the time and date smaller and maybe not as in a bold font, but grouping them together almost like a paragraph so people can read it the way they're going to read it and associate all the information together. Next is size. So this is another kind of element of contrast, and basically by adjusting elements in size in your design, you can highlight the important information and establish a hierarchy by having bigger things in your design that are more important and smaller things that maybe aren't as important. So using size as a way to direct your customers' eyes to bigger things versus smaller things, bigger things having more importance, smaller things having less importance, but still including that in your design. So basically just again having that contrasting and big and small and adjusting the size of things to create that hierarchy of what's the important information to what's the least important information, and using size as a way to break that down and make it so that's what the customer is seeing in the design as well. Next is alignment. So this is one of the biggest things I see with small businesses that I help. Nothing is ever aligned correctly, or they have everything right aligned except one thing is center aligned. So choosing an alignment is going to be a way for you to, again, group organization and have things kind of lumped together as being together. And so aligning elements in a design creates that order of things and creates a structure, establishing relationships and a hierarchy, like I've been mentioning all throughout these different examples. But if everything's right aligned, then you shouldn't have one thing center aligned. Making sure the alignment is consistent across your design is going to improve readability and the organization of how things look. And that's often what makes designs look off, is the alignment. Having one thing slightly off or one thing slightly not aligned. I know personally it's one of the main things I always pick up on a design, is someone messing with the alignment, thinking it separates information. Maybe reevaluate how you're separating information, because changing the alignment often just makes things look off. Next is repetition in design, such as using consistent colors, shapes, and icons, creates patterns, guide that the viewer's eyes and signifies relatedness between elements. So using similar colors between elements is going to make it so the customer can relate things together based on color. This is again kind of related to that first idea I brought up about consistency. Having consistency across the design is going to make it so we can relate one thing to another. I've also mentioned this prior, is white space or negative space in a design refers to the empty space between elements, and it aids in creating balance, separation, and focuses on highlighting key information and improving visual clarity and readability. So like I said, anything with an ad, readability is going to be your #1 priority, and simple is always better. So if you're finding that you're designing something and there's not a lot of negative space or white space, maybe it's time to simplify. Look at the description or copy you're putting into that ad and see what you can get rid of, because the more dense there is, more stuff there isn't in an ad, and the less white space, there's no breathing room, and it's more likely that you're just, especially on social media, that you're gonna get, oh, I don't have enough time to scroll past. So white space is a very important thing to think about when you're creating ads and starting out with graphic design, because often I think we get into the tools like Canva or Adobe, and we just get so excited with all the different tools that we end up with these ads that are just stuffed full of photos, stuffed full of graphics, stuffed full of icons. But I promise you that something more simple is going to do better in the eyes of your clients or customers than something that's stuffed right full of information, right full of visuals. It's going to be too overwhelming. So white space is above all something really important to think about. Think about having a nice, clean, and simple design above anything. Lastly, color is another important thing to think of with hierarchy. So visual is vital in the visual hierarchy for conveying meaning and emotions. So again, this is another topic I could have a whole lunch and learn session on, but colors have so much, there's so much more than just colors. So when you're creating a brand or have a business, when you're choosing a color, you should be thinking more than just orange is my favorite color and that's why I'm going to do this. You should be looking kind of into the psychology that's really attached with colors. And like I said, I could have a whole session just on this. So I'm just going to tie into a quick example, being that often we associate yellow with value. So think of No Frills, no name brand. So it's a cheap, affordable brand, and it's yellow. So now think of any value brand that you can think of. McDonald's. Think of driving down the street, seeing big yellow Value Tire, Value Auto. They typically have yellow signs because psychologically we associate yellow with being cheap, with being value, with being discounted. So when you're creating a brand for yourself, it's important to think about these things and the different emotions and colors and how they relate to each other. Um, Again, I could go into so much more, but also using complementary colors to your branding, um, having different contrasting colors to use in your branding, just really exploring a color palette for your business. So even if you have your two main colors, which for us at Community Futures is green and black, but maybe incorporating like browns or some other lighter or darker greens into your branding that are going to um, complement different colors. Also using variety of colors in your ads. So using maybe a big green header and then having black writing and not having all your type and things like that. Changing the colors of things is a good way to, again, add contrast and separate information. So explore, play around, and like I said, color is so important, and I could have a whole presentation on that itself. Lastly is texture and style. So texture is pretty self-explanatory. It's adding designs that it's like a tactical quality or visual pattern to your designs. So often this is just adding something that almost gives your design a little bit more life, like a marble background or something with a pattern to it. And lastly, the style element is typography. So using different fonts, having different photography. So maybe your business only uses black and white photography. Um, Different styles like that can reinforce brand identity and enhance your visual hierarchy. So you can create your own individual style elements that will reinforce your visual hierarchy as well. I'm kind of getting into the end of my presentation, and of course, like I said, I wish I had all the time in the world to show each of these things to their full effect. But I wanted to just touch on graphic design tools. Of course, there is so many more out there, and this is not an ad for Canva, because there are so many more graphic design tools out there. Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, but by far, Canva stands out as an exceptional graphic design tool specifically for beginners. So you guys, I want to assume most of you are going to be beginners, and even if you're not a beginner, Canva is an excellent tool, even just for time effectiveness, being that it's a lot easier to manipulate, it's a lot easier to get things done. It has a user-friendly interface that empowers beginners to embark on their own design journey seamlessly. They have templates, they have all sorts of innovative features that really can help you get started with your graphic design journey. As well as they also have the Canva Design School. So I would definitely encourage you to check that out as well if you're looking for help with specific tools on Canva. They have lots of great resources right on Canva for anyone to use. And it's, like I said, it's a great platform for beginners and even someone who's experienced and just looking for a quick and easy tool. Canva is definitely the platform you should be exploring. However, when it does come to graphic design, the one thing I always caution small business owners of looking into is templates. It's so tempting to just grab a template and just throw your photo in there, your date and time for your event, and roll with it. But I would really encourage you, if you are using those templates, stay true to your brand and your brand identity and adjusting some of those visual hierarchy things to make your design more unique to you, your branding, and the message you're trying to portray. So incorporate your font, incorporate your brand. Don't just grab the template and then throw it up on to social media, because especially the one thing I find now that more and more people are becoming Canva users is on, say, Mother's Day. I can scroll through Instagram and go, that's a Canva post, that's a Canva post, that's a Canva post, that's a Canva post. So it's okay to use those templates, but I do encourage you to still try and be original, try and edit them and make them as unique to your brand as possible. So lastly, in conclusion, embracing creativity, strategic thinking, and originality is really the key to unlocking your full potential in the world of design. So by daring to think outside the box, you open doors to innovative solutions and captivating creations that captivate and inspire. Remember, every design journey is unique, and in your distinct perspective and creative flair that you will set your work apart from the others. So, as you embark on your creative endeavors, stay true to yourself, trust your instincts, and let your imagination soar. Get creative, think strategically, and above all, stay original. Your designs have the power to make a lasting impact, so dare to dream big and make your mark on the world of design. Thank you. And like I said, play around. So that's another big thing I just adding in at the end here is go on Canva and make a million designs that you're just gonna throw away. Because that's how you're gonna get good at it. That's how you're gonna get familiar with the tools, the techniques, the strategies I've shared. Play around with things because I don't know how many designs I've designed and redesigned just to get right. And so maybe using contrasting colors or size, playing with the size of things when things don't look right, playing with the color and adjusting color and text and font. Play with these things. Adjust. And just because the first draft you made might not look right, try adjusting and playing with some of the things I've mentioned today, and I promise you, you will see a world of difference in your designs by kind of thinking about those common mistakes, but also thinking about some of the strategic elements I mentioned today. Your graphic design will take a step up. And lastly, if you want any more hands-on experience with graphic design or graphic design tools like Canva, feel free to contact me and we can arrange a one-on-one meeting to discuss this. So